weekend should not matter for the Arizona Cardinals, and I'll explain to you why. But they should already have their minds made up on head coach Jonathan Gannon and general manager Monti Ossenfort. Let's talk about that and much more on this edition of a post-Christmas edition of the Ben Garcia Show.
The Ben Garcia Show. Yeah. Woo. Best show in the land. Yup. Listen. Come and get your information from Ben Garcia. Get the latest on your quarterback, running backs, and receivers. Tune in, so any other show you don't need them. Any news that he giving out, please just believe him. Giving out the latest prediction and top-notch analysis. Wanna hear the truth, better have thick skin like callus. The latest move that your team just made can be damaging. The dudes ain't speaking no facts, they just be rambling. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. Yeah. Lights, camera, action, turn on the show, go get the cameraman. The Ben Garcia Show.
What is up, and welcome into yet another edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Appreciate you guys being here on this Friday, 8 a.m. post-Christmas, where I hope you got everything you wanted for Christmas. I know most of the people that watch my show are adults, and we probably, don't get much this time of year when it comes to Christmas. I got a couple of things. A lot of it had to do with the fact that my wife wanted to get me something from my daughter who isn't born yet, but just like she was very sentimental. It's our last Christmas of it just being her and I. So, got me a couple of things, and it's a good time, right? Christmas is a really great, fun time to be hanging out with friends, family, and it was a good time. I hope your Christmas was also a very good time. We are now in the thick of baby season. Like, Christmas is over. The next major life event is right around the window, is right around the corner. So, hey, I don't know what that's going to look like. When my daughter is born, which is really now, any day now, we're really in like any day territory. I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know if I'm going to be gone for a week, 2 weeks, none, a month. I doubt a month, but I don't know. It's right around Super Bowl time. So pretty much, Cardinal season will be over by then, but still wild, very wild, very wild. Anyways, appreciate you guys being here on this Friday edition of the Ben Garcia Show. Don't forget to hit that like, share, subscribe button. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Brian makes a great point, by the way. I ask my in-laws because they go crazy for Christmas. My family doesn't do anything for Christmas. Like they don't get any gifts. They just get together. It's not like anything religious. It was just like, after 18, they were like, no one's getting gifts, which I totally get. I'm an adult. I can buy what I need to buy. I ask my in-laws every year. They always give me way freaking more, but I ask them every year for socks and underwear. I need those, and I don't want to buy them. And I get a bunch of that every year, and it gets me through the whole year, basically. So TMI, but still. Anyways, the Arizona Cardinals have a game this weekend against the Cincinanati Bengals, and there's a lot of things to get into when it comes to this team, but I'll start here. The Arizona Cardinals got the Bengals this weekend, and I don't care if they win. I have built this show off of honesty, off of what I don't think you want to hear, what I think you need to hear, and I've got no interest in watching this game this weekend. I got to be honest with you. Whether the Cardinals win or they lose on Sunday, I technically don't need to watch the show I don't need to watch the game because it's not what I'm going to talk about on Monday. Now, if the Cardinals come out and they mollywop the Cincinnati Bengals 600-0, yeah, I'll come on here and I'll make a couple of points about how the players are still playing hard for Gannon and how they want him to be their coach next year. Like, I'll have some talking points, but it doesn't matter. The best thing that can happen for me on Sunday is that Marvin Harrison Jr. has a nearly 200-yard game and 2 touchdowns. So I can say, oh, there it is. Maybe I'm wrong. I know oftentimes people think I'm rooting for a take to be right, and I'm not. I would much rather Marvin Harrison Jr. be a very competent and very good number 1 wide receiver in the NFL than me be able to score cheap points with you about how I know football better than you. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to be right. I'm interested in what my idol Colin Cowherd says, getting it right. And Marvin Harrison Jr. being terrible or Will Johnson being terrible is not good for my brand. It's not good for this show. If those players aren't good, why are you tuning in? Who cares? So, there's a couple of players that you're watching this weekend. Do I want to watch Marvin Harrison Jr. be awesome this weekend? Abso-freaking-lutely. Do I want him to go out there and torch a terrible Cincinnati Bengals defense and be able to say to you, well, I don't know. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe he could still be that top 15 level wide receiver that you drafted with the 4th overall pick. Do I want the offensive line to come out and have another good week to where you can say and point to and be like, oh, the offensive line is really starting to hit its stride. Maybe you just got to fix that right tackle position and everything will really smooth over. And I actually do believe that's the case. Wide receivers, tight ends, like Trey McBride, I already know he's awesome. Another 100-yard performance game isn't going to convince me any more or any less of that. I think he's the best tight end in the NFL. There's just not much out there. It's just not much to go from when you talk about a schematic standpoint. But here's what really we should be talking about. You've got some player implications. Budda Baker, we'll get to him in just a second. But the Cardinals should have their minds made up on Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort. There is no reason for these last 2 games and say to yourself, well, I'm waiting to decide if Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon is our guy to see how they perform in the Bengals and in the Rams game. Not only do I think you're going to be massively disappointed with those results, but why does it matter? Even if the Cardinals come out and stomp the lights out of the Bengals and the Rams, what does gaining late season momentum change? I've already been very honest with you. I'm not rooting for this team to win on Sunday. What's the point for them to win on Sunday? I don't believe in this idea that wins over draft picks. That matters if you already have the culture. The Cardinals don't have the culture. That matters if you know who your head coach and GM are going to be next year. We don't know if we have those 2 things. So Sunday shouldn't matter from a perspective to Michael Bidwell of, well, I got to see if I have the right head coach and general manager. Here's how you know if you have those guys. After 3 seasons, Jonathan Gannon still has not had an above or at 500 season. Monti Ossenfort has not drafted a Pro Bowler yet. It's one of the things where people go after Gannon and they go after Petzing and they go after Kyler. And just so we're clear, I've went after all 3 of those guys on different occasions before. But Monti Ossenfort wears blame for the Arizona Cardinals' blunder of a season. We're not going to forget that although you could make an argument it was a fine trade that he traded back from Will Anderson Jr., we're not going to forget that regardless of how good Paris Johnson Jr. has been or how promising Will Johnson is, he doesn't have a Pro Bowl selection through 3 years of being a general manager. So why should Sunday matter? And it shouldn't. Now, on the flip side, I believe Michael Bidwell is looking for any reason to keep Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort around for a multitude of reasons. One, money. He doesn't want to pay He doesn't want to pay multiple different head coaches and GMs at the same time. We know he's cheap. But 2, what does Sunday this week and next week tell you? What does it change? I'm a firm believer of if you don't already know if you have the right guy, you probably don't. And I've defended JG on numerous occasions. I've defended JG on numerous occasions. I've defended Monti Ossenfort on numerous occasions. I've defended those guys. Talking about all different things. So when I say, I've defended Jonathan Gannon on multiple different occasions. I've defended Monti Ossenfort on multiple different occasions. Still, if Michael Bidwell is using these last 2 games to figure out if he has the right head coach GM combination, it means you probably don't. Jonathan Gannon has not had a above 500 season or really close to that yet. His teams have fallen apart at the end of seasons. He's losing close games. Kyler Murray, has regressed. Jacoby Brissett has regressed. The defense has gotten worse. Yeah, injuries are some of the reason, but some of it is, can you actually coach? And you look at Monti Ossenfort, and you shouldn't forget some of the mishaps he's had as a general manager. He traded away from Will Anderson Jr. to select Paris Johnson Jr., who's been a pretty good tackle, but hasn't made a Pro Bowl yet. And on that note, Steve Keim has more Pro Bowlers on this roster that he drafted than Monti Ossenfort has. Monty has 0 Pro Bowl selections in 3 seasons as the Cardinals general manager. That's a losing formula. So when you look at these games against the Bengals and against the Rams, and I know Michael Bidwell is looking for any reason to keep those dudes around, my question is, why? What does it change in your mind if the Cardinals win 600-0 this weekend against the Cincinnati Bengals? And they won't. Well, at least they're winning games at the end of seasons. What does that matter outside of screwing up your draft order? I agree with winning games at the end of seasons to build culture when you know you have the culture and the right guys in place. I don't know if the Cardinals have the right guys in place. And so, whether they keep Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort around, or whether Michael Bidwell decides to keep Monti Ossenfort and Jonathan Gannon around, he should know the answer already. This shouldn't be something where you're talking about, well, I'm not sure yet. You've got more than enough data to make your assessment. You've got multiple drafts. You've got multiple games. What are we doing? Waiting to see what the Bengals and Rams look like. Let me tell you what they're going to look like. Losses. Well, what if they're close losses? What if they are? Players are still playing hard. I buy that, but they're not playing good enough. It's embarrassing when I see reports that say, well, Michael Bidwell's undecided. No, you're decided. You're just too scared to tell everyone you're bringing everyone back. Too scared to tell us that you're bringing, everyone back. I want to prepare you for Black Monday when Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort are not fired. I still believe this team is going to make a coordinator change, probably coordinators change of Nick Rawlis, Drew Petzing, and I think Jeff Rodgers too. And they're going to serve that to you as your head's rolling and your major change, along with a new quarterback. And I don't want you to be surprised when they keep them all around. Now, No, Brian, sorry. I think that they're firing the coordinator. Sorry, Brian in the chat might have got confused. So that's why I'm saying I think all the coordinators are going to be fired. And I think that's going to serve as your sweeping change along with a new quarterback. Now, I think definitely Jeff Rodgers and Drew Petzing are gone, and then Kyler's probably gone. Regardless of how I feel. I'm not interested in telling you what I think. That doesn't matter. I've already told you multiple times what I think the Cardinals should do. I think this is what they do. They're going to move on from multiple coordinators, and they're going to say, hey, here's your change. And that's what I think is going to be the case. Here's the other thing. As I continue to battle a cough attack that I've had for the better part of 3 weeks now, The Budda Baker stuff, I just don't really care about that much, but it seems like the rest of the Cardinal world is really into. But let me paint you a picture. Forget about the color of the helmet, the player, the team, the name on the back of the jersey. If I told you 30-year-old safety isn't coming back, if I told you 30-year-old former All-Pro safety is not coming back with his original team that drafted him, would you be surprised? No, because it's a freaking safety. I love Budda Baker. He has meant everything and more to this team. But just so we're clear, selling your house happens all the time, and it never means anything. The dude sold his house for $8.3 million. Maybe he's just downsizing and wanted to cash in on a really good real estate investment. I think that's far more likely than he knows at this point what is happening at the end of the season. We haven't even gotten to week 17. You think he knows if he's back here next year? I don't know. People will tell me, well, what if he's going to request a trade? What if? He's already done that before. It doesn't mean anything. Now, if he walks into the Cardinals office and says, hey guys, it hasn't worked out. I've been a good soldier. Can you trade me? Sure, I think the Cardinals probably will oblige, but it doesn't just mean anything. The Cardinals have to make that assessment for themselves. Here's all that matters. Should the Arizona Cardinals move on from Budda Baker? Hell no. Hell no. Getting a third-round pick in return at most for a 30-year-old safety who's likely past his prime really doesn't speak volumes to me. What's really worrisome is I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to bring back Jonathan Gannon next year, and then in the same moves, keep Jonathan Gannon, but lose the leaders of the offense and the defense. I know he hasn't been here for many months, but James Conner could still be back next season, and he's probably not going to be. And then you might lose Budda Baker as well. Those are your heartbeats. Those are your soul of the Cardinals offense and defense. Don't even get me started on players like Calais Campbell, who could also be gone too. I think the Arizona Cardinals should hold on to players like James Conner and Budda Baker as long as they can and as long as it makes fiscal sense. These are your leaders of the teams. And if Budda Baker walks in and begs for a trade request, maybe you oblige, maybe you don't. But I'm not fast forwarding to that if I can. This team needs all the leaders they can for next season. If they do indeed bring back Jonathan Gannon, like I believe they're going to do. I'm not interested in just moving off of my heart and souls of the offensive and defensive sides of the ball. Budda Baker means way more to this team than just some safety who isn't having a great year but still got selected for a Pro Bowl. There will also be a market for Budda Baker. One, because they know how this guy is as a leader. They know how he is in the locker room. People love him. But they also are going to want him for the player that plays with ruthless aggression and reckless abandon. But this team needs all the leaders they can get next season. They need someone in the locker room coaching up the young players. Will Johnson, Garrett Williams, Max Melton, Denzel Burke could all use the influence of Budda Baker. Forget the money side of it. They could say $5 million. They're not close to the cap anyways. They've got like $35 million in cap space. I'm not willing just to part with a Cardinal legend and, a Cardinal legend and a Cardinal leader just to move off of him. I know his play isn't the best anymore. He's a fine safety. He's good, not great anymore probably. But he means much more to this team than just a name. He's a leader. Players follow him. He's passionate. And if you could have 52 Budda Bakers on your team, you would do it. in an offseason that could feature losing James Conner and Budda Baker, that's a lot of leadership walking out that door. And I don't know if I would do that. I probably wouldn't. Okay. Just a lot of bad today, isn't there? Moving over to some Phoenix Suns stuff. So the Suns play tonight against the New Orleans Pelicans, and make no mistake about it, that's going to be a tough game. New Orleans Pelicans have been playing much better basketball recently. You say to yourself, well, Ben, they've only won 6-7 games on the season. I actually think it's 8 games on the season. So what? They're playing really good basketball right now. Really good basketball. Not only are they playing close games, but they just got off a 5-game winning streak. Those things matter. But hey, here's something I talked about yesterday on Locked On Phoenix Suns that I think is very interesting for the rest of the Phoenix Suns season. They've got Jalen Green coming back very soon here. And you also have a player in Dillon Brooks who is having a career season. Who comes back and takes back the mantle of the second best player on the Phoenix Suns? Now, I'll give my opinion here in terms of, and I'll get to you guys' questions at the end of the show, so I appreciate you guys having them in there. My thing is, how do you prepare to, if you are Jordan Ott, just so we're like, these are good problems to have. I'm not in here talking about these are bad problems, but good problems are still problems that need fixing. And I'm not sure how you bring Jalen Green back into the fold and tell him to go directly back into being Jalen Green and being the second best player on this team like he was expected to be in the beginning of the season. Dillon Brooks is having a career year. He's shooting 45% from the field, 46% from the field. He is averaging a career high in field goal percentage. He is more efficient than ever. He has helped transform and revolutionize the mid-range game that had a gaping hole in it from Kevin Durant. And he's been a really good complement to Devin Booker. Does Dillon Brooks do some things sometimes like forcing shots or, can't get out of his own way mentally? Absolutely. But in terms of a pure basketball standpoint, averaging the most points he's ever averaged a game, averaging a career high in field goal percentage, and helping fill that gaping void in the mid-range assassins that Kevin Durant left when he went to Houston. Dillon has been everything and more. But it leads me to believe, what do you do with Jalen Green when he comes back into the fold? Who has never been as efficient as Dillon Brooks. Now you can say to yourself, well, Dillon is benefiting from the same offense that Jalen Green is about to play in. And that might be true. And honestly, it's a pretty good argument. Royce O'Neal is having a career year from 3 and from a basketball standpoint. Grayson Allen having a career season, although not playing tonight again. Jamari Bouye, Jordan Goodwin, Colin Gillespie. Those are 5 players having outstanding years for the Phoenix Suns. How do you just bring back Jalen Green and tell him to do what Jalen Green has to do and tell Dillon Brooks, I know you're playing efficiently, but take less shots? I don't know what Jordan Ott is going to do, but I'll warn you, the Suns' offense at first is going to look really clunky. For, I would guess, the first 10 stretch of games. Because they've got to figure out a way to insert Jalen Green into the lineup and incorporate him into this offense seamlessly without affecting Devin Booker's rhythm, which I think he's starting to get back, and Dillon Brooks and his career year. And so you say to yourself, well, what could Jordan Ott do? Could he slot Jalen Green into the third best and most used role in the offense? Or does he slide him back into the second spot and hope it doesn't anger Dillon Brooks. Like, it's a double-edged sword here. Suns fans will say, well, Jalen Green shouldn't lose his spot because he was injured. And I'll throw this at them. Well, Dillon Brooks should lose his because he took advantage of an opportunity. Isn't that what life is all about? When you're people like myself, and I think I relate a lot to the common man, the reason why I started this show was because I wasn't getting the shot I felt like I deserved. So I said, screw this. I'm just going to do my own thing. And it's been highly successful. 4,200 subscribers, roughly. Over 3 million lifetime views all time. And I'm very happy with the audience that I built. Is it where I want to be? No. But it would have never happened if I didn't get my shot and my opportunity that I created for myself. Locked On Suns, I would have never gotten that opportunity without creating this one. Dillon Brooks is the same way. He made his own opportunity, made his own lane. And you're telling me that Jalen Green just gets that back? That's not how life works. That's not how life works. And so I understand both sides of the argument. I'm not here to make a stand. All I'm saying is it's going to be very clunky to start. Because when Jalen Green came back into the fold, Dillon Brooks wasn't having this career-level year for this long of a stretch. We're now 2.5 months into the season, and Dillon Brooks isn't slowing down. That's a pretty good sign that this is just going to be a really good season from him. And Jalen has never averaged the most points per game and field goal percentage. Now, can Jalen come in and benefit from this offense too? Maybe. But are you willing to disrupt what Dillon is doing for Jalen? I just don't know if that's the right thing to do. And it's some of the things that I can be more honest about here than Locked On Suns. I just don't see it from Jalen Green. There is no statistical evidence to back that up. And then people tell me on social media, well, use your eyes. I have. I don't like his shot selection. And he could shoot the Rockets out of games sometimes. I can't argue that maybe he benefits in this offense. Maybe he does. I don't know. I can't argue the fact that he's got elite athletic ability and is a physical specimen. All those things couldn't be more true. But the statistics don't lie either. Field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, it's not great. At the basket, he's below average in terms of converting at the basket, which means slashing to the rim and adding that pressure that I've been talking about, a lot of other people have been talking about. But just adding pressure isn't good enough. And so I don't know what Jordan Knott does. Maybe he transforms Jalen Green into this elite level player. He might. I'm just telling you, I'm not sure what that's going to look like. Here's the other thing, too. A lot of people have been talking about this Sun stretch and how the hard part is over. And it was like right after Thanksgiving to the Lakers game just the other night where the Suns were playing this gaudy, ridiculous schedule from hell. And a lot of people thought that they would fail that test. Here's a really good statistic from my guy John Voida of Bright Side of the Sun. The Suns have played the 8th hardest strength of schedule since to start the season. Only the Toronto Raptors, along with the Suns, have an above 500 record with that kind of schedule. Only teams. The Suns have continuously showed they're a good basketball team. But they've got a couple of more of tough tests coming up these next couple of games with a little stint with the New Orleans Pelicans. They're playing good basketball right now, and it's come to the point where you say to yourself, okay, you just got to win one of these games. They're both on the road. The Pelicans have just gotten off a 5-game win streak. They beat up on the Rockets, who are really good. They beat the Mavericks, who are starting to turn a corner a little bit too. It's a good team. And Suns fans have to understand that going into tonight's game, it ain't going to be a cakewalk. That's a pretty good That's a pretty good basketball team over there in New Orleans, led by Derek Queen, who's playing really good. Zion Williamson, who's been playing some pretty good ball as of recently. Jeremiah Fears is coming into his own. Trey Murphy is still there. Like, they've got dudes. And they might be a team to watch, like, in the very, very much near future. It might be a play-in team. Really quickly, I want to look at some of these questions. There was a question in here from Brian. I asked Santa for a competent Arizona Cardinals organization. Yeah, that's not possible. Nice try, though. Love the new graphic. Thank you. I did it at 2 a.m. one day. Steve said, prepare for not much sleep over the next few months, spending lots of money on diapers and moments of heartfelting you've never felt before. Congrats, man. Thank you. I'm already a terrible sleeper, so hopefully it's not too bad. Brian, what coordinators would you like to see brought in? Defensively, I want to keep Nick Rawlis. I don't think Nick Rawlis has been the problem. I think he's done more good than bad. I would keep Nick Rawlis. Special teams, the hell do I know? I don't know. I couldn't tell you 5 special team coaches off the top of my head. I couldn't tell you that. Offensive coordinator, probably Brian Dable, if that's the best person you can bring in. Now, if Mike McDaniel becomes available, I'd like Mike McDaniel's offense. And I'd keep Kyler Murray around, too, then, if that was the case. Because seeing what Mike McDaniel did with Tua, I wonder if he could do that with Kyler as well. So Mike McDaniel would be interesting. But, like, you just don't know. If Shane Steichen gets fired, he'd probably be number 1 on my list. And I'd keep Kyler around because of what he did with Jalen Hurts, a smaller quarterback. But again, I'm ready to just move on from everyone. I'm so annoyed. For my guys in the chat, Brian, Ivan, Steve, Michael, appreciate you guys being here. I'll be here on Monday at 8 a.m. to recap that Cardinals game. I want to say hopefully a win, but honestly, hopefully a loss for draft positioning. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Stay safe. Thank you for everything. I hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope your New Year's is even better. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks.